Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Monday night? Hope you had a great weekend. Hope your football team won. Hope it'll win tonight. Whatever, all that stuff's going on. I am here tonight to tell you about Major Richard Dick Bong. And we'll get into it. I know. You're going to try and make it dirty. It's not dirty. It's actually a story that you will not probably have as many giggles about after I've completed telling you about tonight's subject. But please, those of you watching, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the things you can do for free that help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-serving algorithm. Plus, we have super chats. We have memberships, and those are always warmly appreciated here. But please turn on your gifted memberships because there are very generous people who come into our show, and they will gift you a membership, which gets you access to members-only exclusive content that you can't hear on the regular internet because I'm too scared to put it there. Anyway, tonight we're going to tell you about Major Richard Dick Bong. Now, most of you have heard, or some of you should have heard, about Medal of Honor winner Audie Murphy, legendarily chronicled in his book and the subsequent movie, To Hell and Back. You may be a fan of the series Band of Brothers, and therefore know about Dick Winters and some of the people that were involved in that legendary group of men. But you may not have heard about tonight's subject, Major Richard Dick Bong, and that is criminal. Now, I know. To our modern ears, the name Dick Bong sounds a little different than it did back during World War II. I refuse to not use his name because it's a name that really carries a great deal of honor with it. And when I am done telling you about Major Bong, you will hopefully, and you should, feel the same way. Let me open up my thing. The thing, of course, I refer to is actually just the script for the show every episode. Let's just get that thing out here, and then we will dig right into it because I'm very excited about doing this. And I do have to kind of give a tip of the cap to Space Ghost from the Pod Awful Discord, who encouraged me to do some shows about the aircraft of World War II. And I thought, that's a great idea. But before I do that, I want to tell you about this guy whose story I've always felt just needs to be told more frequently and more often. So here we are. I'm opening up my thing, which also sounds kind of silly, I suppose. And then we'll start telling you about this guy. It's an amazing story. It should be made into a film. If I had that kind of power, it would be a major motion picture starring, well, frankly, it should star me. No, I'm kidding. It's going to have to star someone much younger, and I'll tell you about that, too. Let's get to just a few comments here before I get into tonight's subject. And by the way, I'm not necessarily going to get to your comments till the end because it's going to be really tough for me to quit telling this story and take a break like I normally do. Urquit, our good friend from the Pod Awful Discord, says, love you, Tom. Love you back. And says P-30, nice P-38 Lightning. Yes, the P-38 Lightning is behind me. I'll show you much better photos of this amazing aircraft a little bit later on. And I've got to give Urquit a salute that we have. I don't know if I'm part of the Pod Awful group or they just tolerate me. But either way, I'm thankful. And it's H2BH. Happy to be here. Happy to be here. So let's get started. It's just an amazing story. Here he is. That is Major Richard Dick Bong, and a few of you may actually know this name, but the vast majority of you will not. which is amazing because, as we've discussed, Dick Bong in our times we live in now is a name that's almost impossible to forget. But the reason you should definitely know the name Dick Bong will be more impossible to forget after this program. You should know and you should respect the name because Major Richard Dick Bong was one of the most decorated fighter pilots and certainly the top flying ace for the United States during World War II. Now, Major Bong was born in Superior, Wisconsin in the year of 1920 as the oldest of 9 children. As the oldest of 6 children, I know that's not the easiest gig in the world, but as it turned out, Superior, Wisconsin was kind of an interesting place because President Calvin Coolidge, while Dick Bong was growing up, had a summer home there. And a young Dick Bong was fascinated because aircraft would bring the mail to the president. You have to remember, aerial flight only began in the early 1910s, the teens. And so while he was growing up, aircraft were becoming more and more popular, but you didn't always necessarily see one every single day. And he was fascinated by watching these planes bring the mail. He went to the local high school and he was in the marching band. He played the typical sports for Wisconsin, baseball, basketball, hockey. And interestingly, his high school was only a 3-year school. So he had to finish up and he graduated Central High School in Superior in 1938. And that's when he went to Superior State Teachers College and began flying lessons while in the civilian pilot training program. And then just about 6 months before the start of World War II, he enlisted in the Army Air Corps Aviation cadet program. And that is when Richard Bong began doing what he was born to do. Let's just give you a quick shot of him here. He's actually at the helm of a P-38 right here. That's when, while training in Northern California, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant and got his pilot wings in early 1942, a little over a month after Pearl Harbor, and he was first assigned to the 49th Fighter Squadron at Hamilton Field in California. And that's when he started flying this particular aircraft. This is not his aircraft, but this is an example of the aircraft he was flying, and that is the Lockheed P-38 Lightning. Just love saying that. It's just got a nice ring to it. And that's an aircraft that we may do an entire show about. As you can see, it's somewhat unique. It had twin engines on it, which wasn't completely unique for the time. You can see the very small pilot section in the middle incorporated into the wing, and then 2 fuselages that are connected in the back. And this is a fighter airplane. 6 months into his training in June of 1942, kind of a legendary event occurred in the career of Dick Bong. One of his fellow pilots had tied the knot, gotten married. And so Dick Bong thought it would be something fun to do to buzz that pilot's home, which means fly very, very low. You may have seen in the movie Top Gun, the first one, and I believe the second as well, Maverick buzzes the tower. He flies so close to it that it kind of rocks everybody's world. And this is just the start, the buzzing of his fellow pilot's home, of some exploits on one day that would result in his being grounded, actually, for breaking flying rules. What could he have possibly done? I hear you cry out. Well, he and 3 other pilots actually looped the Golden Gate Bridge, with Bong flying under the bridge. I don't know if you've ever seen the Golden Gate Bridge, but there's not a tremendous amount of clearance between the bridge itself and the water underneath. That's a very, very, very hard thing to do as a pilot, and kind of a daredevil move. He then flew at a very low level down Market Street. If you've never been to San Francisco, Market Street, a very busy street, and then also flew so low through Oakland that he blew all the clothes off of a woman's clothesline, completely took them off. There was no dryers back then per se, so everyone had their clothes on the clothesline. And that earned the following reprimand from General George Kenney. He was the commander of the 4th Air Force. And he said, and this is so sort of emblematic of generals and people during World War II that were in command. He said to Richard Bong, if you didn't want to fly at low level down Market Street, I wouldn't want you in my Air Force. But you're not to try it or do it anymore. And he later claimed, we needed kids like this one. Part of his punishment, by the way, was that he was made to do the woman's laundry that he knocked off the clothesline, or any other chore that she requested. Now, why is all this important? Yes, it's an example of his skill in devil may care, if you will, as a pilot. But because he denied ever flying under the Golden Gate Bridge, nonetheless, he was still under reprimand and grounded when his actual flight group that he had trained with was sent to England without him in the European theater of World War II. So he was transferred to another squadron that was sent instead to the South Pacific, and that's where his exploits really began. The P-38 Lightning that you see before you now was a relatively new plane. And so that fighter group was new as well. He had trained in it, and they sent the pilots with more experience in November of 1942, due to his familiarity, to the 49th Fighter Group and the 9th Fighter Squadron. They were known as the Flying Knights. But they had been trained on the P-40 Warhawk, completely different aircraft. And so Richard Bong and other P-38 pilots helped them convert to learn to fly the newer plane. But these planes were in short supply. So Richard Bong and other pilots were sort of tasked to get combat experience with another group, the 39th Fighter Squadron, 35th Fighter Group, in New Guinea. And in December of 1942, he claimed his first victories in the air, taking down a Jap Zero and the Nakajima Oscar. And for that, he was awarded the Silver Star. But the ace of aces, Dick Bong, was just getting started. Just getting started. Believe you me. By the time he rejoined his fighter squadron, it was actually fully outfitted at the time with P-38 Lightnings. And in April of 1943, he was promoted to first lieutenant, and on July 26th of 1943, he shot down 4 Japanese fighters, earning the Distinguished Service Cross, and shortly afterwards being promoted to captain. Now, very, very, very important event happened in November and December during the holidays of 1943. Richard Bong was given leave to return to the United States, and that's when he went back to his old stomping grounds, if you'll recall, Superior State Teachers College. And there he met a woman named Marjorie Vattendahl at homecoming. Their subsequent dating would have a major impact on the last thing many Japanese fighters would ever see. Because when he went back to the South Pacific in January, he named his P-38 Marge. Yep. There is a recreation of his P-38 Lightning with Marge, his girlfriend at the time, there on the nose, as was common for pilots to do certain things to decorate their aircraft. And he has her photo there proudly displayed, as you can see here. As luck would have it, another pilot was flying his aircraft when it crashed after the pilot bailed out. And in May of just last year, the Richard Bong Veterans Historical Center and a preservation group called Pacific Rex located the crash site and that aircraft. And that's very interesting. They managed to find it. That is not the aircraft in question. That is a P-38 Lightning that has been recreated at the Richard Bong Veterans Historical Center to represent his aircraft. But having his P-38 crashed didn't stop Dick Bong. He just got another one. I assume he put Marge on the nose of it as well, because by April of that year, he had shot down his 26th and 27th Japanese planes, which broke the American record of Eddie Rickenbacker, which was actually set way back in World War I. So that's when he earned his promotion to Major, and he went on a promotional tour to sell war bonds and, the war effort. But he went back to training as an advanced gunnery instructor, which is a little ironic for reasons I'll tell you about in just a second. And he had permission to fly missions as a training officer, but he wasn't supposed to go after combat opportunities. Now, remember, he'd only shot down 26 or 27 Jap planes at the time. And I shouldn't probably say Jap. I know probably people are going to get upset by that, but at the time, that's what they were called. So he's at 26 or 27 only, I say. That's a tremendous accomplishment. And so in the Philippines theater, he was flying Tacloban, Leyte, various other places. And in December of 1944, he had attained his 40th and final victory in the sky. So to be an ace, you don't need anywhere near 40. But he, of course, was the ace of aces during World War II. Now, as to his gunnery prowess, Dick Bong did not consider himself to be a very accurate gunner. In other words, he was not that great at shooting from distance to down a Japanese aircraft. But he was such an amazing pilot, he'd use his flying skills to get as close to a target as possible to ensure bringing that plane down. And many times he would actually fly through the debris and explosions of the aircraft that he had taken down. Well, George Kenney, that same general that had reprimanded him earlier for taking the clothes off the clothesline, he was the commander of the Air Force at the time, and he recommended that Dick Bong be awarded the Medal of Honor from General Douglas MacArthur, and he did receive that in December of 1944. Here he is. Dick is on the far left. Of course, in the middle is Douglas MacArthur, and on the right is General George Kenney. Now, the next month, January of 1945, Richard Bong was sent home. And that is when the ace of aces, America's ace of aces, actually married his girl, Marge Vattendahl, and engaged in more efforts to increase the sale of war bonds. But Dick Bong just frankly couldn't quit flying. He was a pilot through and through. So he chose to become a test pilot for this aircraft, which is the P-80 Shooting Star jet fighter. Now, remember, the United States didn't have jet fighters in World War II, so this was the next step in America's Air Force that everyone saw coming. The Germans had a jet fighter, and we needed very brave and very skilled pilots to make this work. This was not a previously existing aircraft. This was something that was being developed. Well, these early P-80s had an issue with their fuel pump. And Dick Bong's plane experienced a malfunction with the fuel pump during a takeoff on August 6th, 1945. He ejected, but it was during takeoff, and unfortunately, he simply didn't have enough altitude for his parachute to open. His death was front page news. As you can see, sort of up and to the left, and certainly in the headline. Below another headline for that day, it was the very same day as the news of the Hiroshima bombing, and Dick Bong was only 24 years old. So when you think of Tom Cruise and Top Gun movies or World War II in general, please do me a favor. Please tell someone the story of a man whose name we should all know and hold in high regard. And that is, of course, Major Richard Dick Bong. And by the way, if you get a chance, check out the Richard Bong Veterans Historical Center. I believe it's in Wisconsin. They have a web presence. And there you'll find a museum, which is set up like a hangar. It's really very cool. And they've got a movie screening room there and a P-38 Lightning that has been lovingly recreated, as I showed you earlier, to emulate Major Bong's plane. So there you are. That's all I have to tell you this evening about an American legend whose name we really all should know because, dare I say it, he was a badass and, excellent at what he did and defending our country during that time. So, Major Richard Dick Bong. And now to your comments. The Wolf is here. He says, hello, Stanley. Hello, SG. The Wolf says, holy cow, duck and cover. Reno Hightower is here. He says, Johnny Crutches actually owns a... Now, come on. Now, that's the reason everyone giggles a little bit. And, you can't blame them. They don't know his story. So, Rumpled Trenchcoat is here. Oh, boy, we always love to see Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast. Check it out on YouTube. He said, that's pretty amazing. I can't believe I never heard of him before now. Yeah, it's a story that when you tell people, they just go, oh, wow, I didn't realize. The Wolf is saying hi to people. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. Julian Zio says, good job, Tom. Any war in the Pacific topics you want to cover are right up my alley. Well, thank you, Julian. I appreciate it. And people saying hi, which we always love here on the Tom Gully Show. I have to admit, I didn't know anything about Dick Bong until I read a story. I won't go into the story itself. It was a fiction story. And well, I will tell you, there's some people that recreated the life of Phil Marlowe between a certain year, a certain novel, and then the last novel. There was nothing written about the legendary detective Phil Marlowe. So they assigned famous fiction writers 1 year a piece. And one of the stories was about a relative of Major Dick Bong. And I thought it was a made-up name. And then I looked into it, and I said, how does everybody not know about this guy? How is this guy's name not a common household name like Audie Murphy or Douglas MacArthur or General Patton or Dwight D. Eisenhower? It should be. It really should be. People saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. We always love that here. I'll go ahead and say it again. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, so that we may serve the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-caring algorithm. And super chats and memberships. I can't stress this enough. We really appreciate them here. They are warmly appreciated, like any other show on the internet, I suppose, that's monetized. But please turn on those gifted memberships because there's generous people here that will donate free gifted memberships. And perhaps you'll get one if your gifted memberships are turned on. It tells how right here in the thing that I should have had running under the screen the whole time, but I didn't want to while we were focusing on Dick Bong because I respect his story and love the story of Dick Bong so much, of course, except for the ending. Julian Zito says, I guess when you die young, tragically, there's no speaking tour and people forget. Yes, they do forget. They do forget, sadly, which is unfortunate. Let me just open up the phone lines and see if we get any legitimate callers here. But this aircraft, I just think is, I love saying the name P-38 Lightning. It's got a great... it just sounds good. It's got a ring to it. And it's very unique looking aircraft for the time. and the cockpit sort of self-contained away from the fuselage. The other two fuselages there, just extremely distinctive looking. And there you go. Rebel Trenchcoat says, ka-chow. I do not know specifically what he is ka-chowing, but I fully endorse it, no matter what it might be. But yeah, one of the first pilots for that aircraft trained people on it and ended up shooting down 40 Japanese planes in World War II. And again, tragically, while testing a new jet aircraft, died at the age of only 24 years old. So, his earliest exploits were when he was 21 years old. But that's who we send to war many times, are very young people. So, the Rumpled Trenchcoat says, lightning from the movie Cars days, ka-chow was his catchphrase. Okay. All right. Ka-chow. I need to develop a catchphrase. I had Cobra Kai, but I think it's kind of taken. The Wolf says, Coat, there's a charlatan running a live episode 12 of Kabumble on YouTube. Well, yes, there's another show or two that tries to reach the heights of the Rumpled Trenchcoat of Columbo podcast. They try. They make a good effort. But they're simply not Rumpled Trenchcoat. That's through no fault of their own. They were unable to be Rumpled Trenchcoat. But anyway, the P-38 Lightning, there it is, in all of its glory. And I'm just going to go ahead and show this one again. Marge, man, you want to you want to show a gal how much you care about her? Put her on your P-38 Lightning, And by the way, and not to get creepy or anything, Marge, she's a looker. She's a babe for back in the time. Well, for any time, really. I counted them up. I think there's 26 or 27. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 26. There's 26 on there. And Jillian Caesar says that is a striking picture. The Marge plane. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The Wolf says, not to get creepy, but let's get creepy. Well, not. It's not creepy in a bad way. It's creepy in a normal way. But no, we're not being creepy. We're not intentionally being creepy. We may inadvertently. Rumpled Trenchcoat says there's a few Columbo podcasts out there, and they do a good job, but they aren't invited on Tom's show, so I feel a little sorry for them. Yes, January 21st on this very program, we will be speaking with Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast, both Mr. Rumpled and his sister, who is also outstanding on the program. So there you go. Kind of cool, a guy and his sister getting together and doing a podcast. I would do one with my sisters, but they would want to do them about subjects even more heady than the ones that I do here. Trust me on that. Our phone lines are open at 972-994-6822 if you'd care to call in and talk about Major Richard Dick Bong. And, it's quite a story. Why there's not a movie about this guy, I am completely befuddled. There should long ago have been a major motion picture about. You see him all the time, Midway and all the other really great films that have been done. This guy deserves a movie, a Hollywood big star, Academy Award nominated. The Wolf, sadly, Wolf, there were no aircraft balloons. I guess there were balloons in the Civil War. Dirigibles, maybe. He says, and I can even do even off perverse, no good northern trash down here to exploit our southern flowers. Yeah, So anyway, there you go. That's the story of Major Richard Dick Bong. I do not know what tomorrow's show will hold yet. I've got a million topics I can pick from. I know the recent poll that we did said you guys just want weird stuff. You want more weird stuff. And so I'm searching through the many lists of show topics that I have here that are constantly growing. This is another one here, and I'll just pick a weird one, and that's what we'll do tomorrow. Unless somebody has a weird one they'd like to offer up right this second, in which case, do your worst. Go on, do your worst. 972-994-6822 is the number to call if indeed you would care to talk about Major Richard Dick Bong or anything else. Wisconsin, a little bit of an aviation hub because you've got the big air show in Oshkosh and you've got the museum for Richard Bong in Superior. And Wolf, we're not bringing, no. I'm not even putting that up on screen. We're not doing that. We're not going to do that. But the test pilots of the day, I guess Chuck Yeager was quoted as saying that when a test pilot would tragically lose their life trying to sort of push the capabilities of a new aircraft or what they call work the bugs out of it, that person was not necessarily thought of in a positive light, not because of a lack of skill on their part or anything other than it brought negative attention to what they were trying to do, which was an interesting observation. One that, as an outsider, you might say, wow, that's pretty cold, but as someone who lived it, like Chuck Yeager and many others, that's kind of their stock and trade was, nerves of steel. You're getting into an untested, unproven aircraft. It's not like driving a new kind of car. You just slow down. When you're in an aircraft, particularly a jet aircraft, there's no margin for error. Very little margin for error. So we kind of owe a debt of gratitude. I don't know how many new out-of-the-box kind of aircraft now are being tested. I know they are, but now we have computer simulations that can replicate, air conditions and wind speeds and various attack angles of wings and things of that nature. We didn't have those back in the day. None of that. Zip, zero, zilch, de nullen. Yes, engineers would sit and look at their drawings and make calculations based on geometry and things of that nature, but they couldn't do a computer simulation, and they had to have men go up in planes and test it out. Julian Zeeser says, these days, with computer control, engineers like SpaceX can approach or exceed the limits of a machine's performance without killing a pilot. Exactly. It's somewhat sterile. I mean, nothing is going to supplant the actual flying of a plane by a human being. But with computers, they can make it virtually error-free when a pilot does get inside of a plane. And let's just be honest. Those aircraft could be flown remotely, at least to test them through takeoff and landing. Most commercial aircraft, the takeoff and the landing certainly is done automatically to a large extent. So, and we all know what happens with drones. Wolf says, I'm sure von Braun gave some chocolates in a Vase event. Well, in Germany, Werner von Braun would just give some pervitine, and they'd be more than happy to climb into the plane. Julian Caesar, by the way, the Germans, and when I can get into that aircraft, the jet that the Germans had at the very end of the war, they had some real problems with that thing when they first got going. And yeah, they did have a lot of guys lose their life just trying to get the mixture for the jet fuel proper and things of that nature. So let's see. Julian Caesar says experts say there's a good chance that Starship Flight 7, launching in less than a week, will burn up because they're leaving off some of the protective tiles. Yeah, let's not be leaving off protective. Just the name protective tile doesn't really sound like something I want to test the theory on. Well, the protective tile is not so important on this one, but we will see. We will see. Julian Caesar says early flying mythos. Those daring young men in their flying machines. They even wrote a song about it. Those daring young men in their flying machine. The tail was jacked up. I don't know on what, but yes, the tail was jacked up on something. There's no way for me to tell. It just says the tail was jacked up, so I have no idea. 972-994-6822. Give us a call, and we'll talk to you. Tomorrow's show, let's see here. The Wolf says, the German one, the tail was jacked up. Well, here's the other thing about the German one. Another problem that they had was taking off and landing, especially landing. They had major landing problems with that aircraft and, retracting the wheels, getting them back down. But it was a brand new flight technology, and therefore they weren't quite as hip to how to make it land, which is important in an aircraft. Rumble Trenchcoat says, a Columbo podcast, it was worse when they left off the "we need this to live" tiles. Yes. Many people call them the "we need this to live" tiles. Let's see. I'm going down the list here to see what I might do another show about tomorrow. One of these days, I'm reaching out to some people that have the actual footage, because it's a show where we'd have to show the actual footage. We are going to do a show about a guy named Jeremy DeWitt, who was arrested for impersonating the police, an absolute crazy man who had a company doing funeral processions that thought he was a cop. That just are, but I do have to get permission to use that footage first. Let's see here. I already did wiping. Dwight Fry, who's on first. We just did Dick Bong. Let's see. I could do one on Stockholm Syndrome tomorrow. That's, I think, weird enough for most people. Elephants. I don't know about the elephant show. I've got one coming up with 3D movies. We could do COINTELPRO tomorrow. I don't know if that's as weird as it is controversial. We could do the Anarchist Cookbook, but I don't like to do the Anarchist Cookbook and like the Fred Hampton show that close together, because I certainly don't need the NSA looking at this program. Japanese internment. Barbie Benton. We are going to do a Barbie Benton show. I could do H.R. Puffin stuff or Sid and Marty Krofft. That might be a great show for tomorrow, now that I think of it. And somebody dared me, so I do owe you guys a show on herpes. On herpes. The Wolf says of the German jet, whose name escapes me now, but it was the Fred Flintstone landing. It was they had problems with it bouncing. It was doing a lot of bouncing when it landed, and it was a mess. But they finally did get it working, and it was about 150 miles an hour faster than the Mosquito that the British had, which was the fastest Allied plane. I don't know that it was the best fighter plane, but it was the fastest. And so when those German jets, which they had in very short supply, it was very late into the war, and we dominated the air for a good portion of the end of World War II. There was just, if you heard a plane, it was going to be an American plane. We completely destroyed the Luftwaffe. But then these jets came out, which were mostly fighters, and difficult to contend with something that can go 150 miles an hour faster than you can. The Wolf says that could get you a publication called The Thunderbolt of Justice. Never cover the handbook. Okay, that's true. We covered the Thunderbolt of Justice that the Wolf was accidentally sent. Let's just say he wasn't their target audience. They wasted a few copies of the Thunderbolt of Justice being sent to him, I think, back then. That's not funny, but it is funny. It really is. Let's see here. Going through these. I'm getting really close to just doing Sid and Marty Krofft tomorrow, because then you get to cover all of those shows. You just don't have to do H.R. Puffin stuff, which is only one of them. It's a list of the best of. Or maybe I'll just find something I think is weird. Yes, it was never suspected that it was going to the crowd favorite. The Thunderbolt of Justice, a disgusting, awful publication. Just horrible, horrifyingly horrifying. And the Wolf, for reasons that might be obvious to some, not their target audience at all. Not even close. Not even close. To being the people that they were trying to reach. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the World War II footage of the fighting, planes. They have them from the front. They have all sorts of footage. But as you might expect, it's pretty shaky and not always that easy to see what's going on. But some of them are. And you can see the tracers and them leading the planes. But there's a series of, I think it's called Military Heroes is the channel on YouTube. And it's got those dogfight shows on it, which are computer-generated three-dimensional recreations of many of the important air battles of World War II. And they're just amazing. They're really incredibly done. The Wolf says, rule number 1 of writing, know your audience. Exactly. Rule number 2 of direct mail strategy, know your audience. When an organization like that sends the Thunderbolt of Justice to, an African-American gentleman like Mr. Warfield, that's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. It was so well written and illustrated that you just couldn't read it. You just couldn't read it. And in the Wolf's defense, they were anti a lot of different people, not just, not only but everybody. Everybody, and because that's what they do. So I mean, that's their thing. That's their thing. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? 972-994-6822 is the number to call. I could. Why don't I just as a little bit of flavor, if you will. I think I'm gonna pull up some World War II era audio here. I was playing a little bit of it this weekend on our members program, but I do happen to have some selections here, as you might imagine, that will give you a flavor of World War II, if indeed you're looking for that flavor. I have it here. And we'll do that. The Wolf says, I would have been only one of the criminals they needed to protect their Nordic princesses from. Well, yes, they're very interested in that. It's just absolute idiots. Now they don't have the newsletter. They have an email. They have a group email and a website probably and all the other things. The stuff you just look at and go, why? Why? What do you... Do you not know what decade this is? Are you just that bent in the head And also, if you're going to be that bent in the head, get your mailing list in order. It says they were fine Southern gentlemen. I bet they probably were. I'll bet they were. Bunch of losers. Hey, a bunch of losers. Know what I'm saying? Losers. All right, let's hear some of this audio that I have lovingly collected over the years. Come on, let's get to it. It's way down the list here. I've got a giant audio replay file that I typically don't even open. It's so gigantic. It's absolutely massive. It's got quick feet, athletic, and but you'll enjoy it. I promise you will enjoy it. When I get to it, come on, scroll. There's a lot of Tom Gully shows on here for some reason. No idea why that is. Here we go. Now we've got it. Okay, so even though the Japanese were far away, as were the Germans and the Italians, we still needed people to do things like this. Any day now.
Alert Americans will heed history's lessons. Throughout history, surprise has had a leading role in military disasters. Today, an enemy capable of surprise air attack could leave chaos in his wake. That's why you should be in the Civilian Ground Observer Corps, volunteering a few hours a week to guard our skies. Be a ground observer. Contact your local civilian defense office.
Millions in Europe and...
There we go. Let's see here. Okay, I tell people about this and they don't believe me. They look me in the face like I just told them the moon's made of green cheese or something. But during World War II, your every average housewife was asked to conserve the leftover waste grease from her cooking, and they would use that grease to grease axles and chains and implements of war, just anything that you use grease for, so we say. And this is one of those. And by the way, there were benefits because there was rationing going on all over the place. So if they're rationing things, then there was a way for you to get a little perk if you helped with the war effort. And this is one such announcement.
Every day, as the war against Japan increases in intensity, the need for waste fats and greases grows more critical. Here's one department where the enemy may be superior unless you help make up the difference from your kitchens. Save all waste fats and greases, no matter how discolored. Keep a clean can in which to strain them and take them regularly to your butcher. Remember, for every pound, he'll give you 4 cents plus 2 extra meat points.
4 cents and 2 extra meat points, and if you collected enough meat points, you got to buy meat. They were rationing it. Let's see here. The wolf says, what do you mean? The moon is made of green cheese. I saw it absorb peen one clear night. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, use your grease to keep our boys moving. And Julian Caesar says, I have an old World War II ration book handed down from some relative. Well, that's cool. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the free things that make that algorithm happy. And then we do have the super chats. We do have the memberships. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes, so if you can. But if not, turn on those gifted memberships and maybe somebody will give you a hand there. I don't just have one. This is how important it was. I don't just have one fat grease commercial. I have 8 of them. 8.
Mrs. American Housewife, are you saving all your used kitchen fats and turning them into your butcher regularly?
Because the Army and the Navy need them, and need them now. Every drop yields material essential to the manufacture of ammunition and medicine. Help win the war. Help shorten the war. Save kitchen fats.
Ladies, listen. The shortage of fats and oils is still very serious, and it's worldwide. So please, keep on saving every single drop of used kitchen fat. Your butcher will pay you for every pound.
I mean, they didn't mess around back then.
Ladies, you're not getting nearly as much soap as you need because the soap makers aren't getting nearly as much fat as they need. Please help supply the fats needed to make soap. Save and sell every ounce of used kitchen fat. Your grocer will pay you 4 cents a pound. So don't waste fat.
4 cents a pound, man. Let's rock. Let's see here. Let's see. Here's one I used to play all the time, and it's still true today, and it's Jack Benny.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chief hope of our enemies is to divide the United States along racial and religious lines and thereby conquer us. Let's not spread prejudice. A divided America is a weak America. Through our behavior, we encourage the respect of our children and make them better neighbors to all races and religions. Remind them that being good neighbors has helped make our country great and kept her free. Thank you.
There you go. Let's get to a couple comments here real quickly. Julian Zezer says, American farmers didn't just need to feed Americans, they needed to feed people in war-torn areas too. Very correct, very true. The Wolf says, Daddy needs a new box of German chocolates. Well, you'll know I like suburbanity. Rumple Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast, says, that guy sounds like he's going to try and sell me Rinso White and Chesterfields. Yes, the combination everyone should have in an American home. Well, the Wolf says, wait a minute, we need that kitchen fat to make gravy. I don't think they're asking you to not make gravy. Well, they kind of are. Let me see here. We've got turn on warm on.
Before taking our usual trip to the green room, let's discuss 3 ways we can all help lengthen the war.
Lengthen?
Here they are.
What?
First, throw away all your extra equipment. Second, don't take care of the equipment and ordnance you have left. Third, waste your field rations. Only eat the parts you like. Well, that's only 3 ways. But if each and every man and woman in the service indulged in just those 3 consistently, V-Day would be a far cry indeed. Of course, no one would act like that on purpose, but unfortunately, we all tend to treat GI materiel a little bit like a stepsister. And when you multiply your carelessness and wastage 1 million or more times, it's no longer funny. So let's not help lengthen the war. Let's shorten it by conserving everything we have.
They had good copy back then. They wrote really good copy. There's one here where they kind of, they're talking to kids. I don't know if this is the one or not.
Millions in Europe and Asia are going hungry and facing actual starvation. Therefore, it's up to us, the best-fed nation in the world, to tighten our belts. We can share a meal and save a life. And here's how. Buy only as much bread and other wheat products as you really need. Use rice, fats, and oils sparingly. Don't waste any food. Turn in your used fats and oils at the food store promptly. Plant a garden and raise as much of your family's food as you can. You are saving food for those who desperately need it when you buy less, especially when you use up those leftovers.
So, I mean, everybody was expected to chip in. The Rumble Trenchcoat says, wait, he's using reverse psychology. Hey, what do you... Hey. Anyway, let's see here. I wonder if this is the one. I want to get to the one where they really give it to, like, kids. And man.
And you will undoubtedly hear it many more times as the days go by. Now, just in case you're hazy on exactly what it means, let me give you a rough idea. It means that the cost of your clothes and food has gone up to a point where the family budget has become somewhat strained. Well, that's one of those things. And you can't be expected to increase the family income. But there are some things you can do to help. For instance, take better care of your clothes. When you come home from school, change into old clothes before you go out to play. Take care of your health, because doctors and medicines are expensive. Eat well, but don't waste. Take your full share, but eat all you take. Try not to ask Mother and Dad to buy you things you don't actually need. Make the best and the most of what you've got. Try to be more than usually careful of your school equipment, such as paper, pencils, and so forth.
School equipment. You're making them feel important, school equipment.
Make them last and go as far as you possibly can. Remember that all members of a family must pull together at a time like this. So do your share.
Man, everybody, this was on a kid's show, probably, the Green Hornet or something of that nature. But they really nailed it. And drink your Ovaltine. Yes. Terry Nee is here. He says, fat hips sink ships. And they do. They so do. 972-994-6822 is the number to call if you care to. Let's see if I can find another one. There was just, everything was patriotic. Everything is, do your share to help with the war. Here's one. This is a long one, though. This is like 2.5 minutes. I'll just play the beginning of it.
But before you start asking me if the story is a true one, I'd like to tell you with some excitement about next week's play, because it's really a most exciting story. But first, you have your say, Frank Martin.
Let me remind you, friends, if you're unattractively thin and jittery, tired and run down, unable to eat and sleep as you should, and if it's only because you're short on vitamin B and iron, then try ironized yeast tablets. They've helped thousands with these deficiencies. They cost but a few pennies a day.
I'm not going to find it in here. I'm not going to search for it. But it's about ration stamps. Here's another one. Oh, wait. Let's get to some of these chats here. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. Rumpled Trenchcoat, who's just absolutely wonderful about supporting this show. Thank you so much, as usual. He has gifted 5 Tom Gully Show memberships. 5, count them, 5. That is absolutely wonderful. And, let me see if I can do something about that. Hold on. Because you deserve this, really, if it's still on here. Yeah, you do. You deserve the point. There you go. That's for you, Rumpled Trenchcoat. You got the point. It's hard to get the point, but you got the point. Make your own liquor. It's patriotic. Well, I don't know that they would have objected to that too much. Nice. I got the point. Yes, you did. And please like, share, subscribe, all those things we always ask you to do. And any super chats or memberships we can get, man, oh man, oh man, really help us out with the show. This one's for war bonds.
Yes, the purchase of war bonds has become the most important objective in the life of Jeb Creaker and millions of other Americans who are now investing at least 10% or more of their total incomes in war bonds and stamps. 10% or more of your income invested in war bonds and stamps is your personal quota. Put your fighting dollars out there on the battlefront beside our fighting men. Join a payroll savings plan where you work and pledge yourself to top that 10% today. This is Larry Elliott speaking. This is your country.
So, not messing around all during the war. It was not just, hey, there's a movie going on over there in Europe or in the Pacific Theater. It's these people want to take us over. So please do what you can. And everybody was in on it, man. The Wolf says, that coat, that's better than getting a box of German chocolate. That's much better than getting a box of German chocolate. Let me see if I have one more here. 972-994-6822 is the number to call if you care to. Let's see. UN Peace. There's one here called Turn Off Radio. I don't know what that means.
And the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly. So if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you calmly, but sincerely, to turn off your radio.
They wrote good copy back then. There's one here about staying in college, savings bonds, the ration stamps one's way too long to go through. Peace on Earth, old schools. There's one here about all of our schools are falling down. We need to help build them up. This is a short one.
In the event of any important news developments, the sponsor will interrupt this program.
Yeah, that's like if something bad happens, we'll let you know about it. This is another patriotic one.
For almost 2 centuries, Americans have enjoyed the valuable privileges of freedom. Now, freedom needs each American to dedicate himself to its preservation. We must not allow our liberties to be endangered by neglect of our duties as citizens. During this year of rededication, join with your fellow Americans in reaffirming the principles on which this country is founded and the safeguarding of those principles. Make it your business to see that federal, state, and local governments are conducted honestly. Help to maintain the good morale of your sons and daughters in the armed forces. Learn the facts about all candidates and issues. Then vote for the one you believe in. Make the most of every minute on your job. Produce as much as you can, and thus increase our military and economic strength. Work for better schools and a better community. Guard your American heritage of freedom. It needs you.
Just a different world back then, wherein being American or acting American or contributing to the community that surrounds you was seen as a matter of civic pride. Let me see. I may have one more.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 7 years of bigger and bigger enrollments, America's grade schools will need nearly 250,000 extra teachers, besides those to fill normal vacancies. This great need, plus the growing public interest in education and improvements in schools, make elementary school teaching a more rewarding career than ever, a career that high school and college students should certainly consider. Education holds America's future, perhaps your future.
So anyway, let me get rid of those. Anyway, a little trip back into World War II and the radio announcements of the day. Radio, of course, the most pervasive media at the time. Let's see here. Ruffled Trench Coat. It says, heck yeah, I hate how StreamYard, when you click on something, goes and just updates everything so it doesn't put what you click on up. Ruffled Trench Coat says, heck yeah. It also says, oh, and you might get a kick out of this, Wolf, but my wife surprised me by getting a London fog trench coat. Hey now, we were talking about that just the other day right here. The Wolf is glad. That's awesome. She had no idea, but I bust out laughing. Wolf says, with a Dobbs hat, you could also play Sam Spade. That's wonderful. 972-994-6822. I'll leave the phone lines open for another 5-10 minutes or so, perhaps. I could close them down just like that. Licky toot, chop chop, toot sweet, man. Just close them down. Could just Dick Bong that phone line into the Pacific Ocean. If I wanted to. If I wanted to. I've been, it's really strange. You know, in your life, you know about a certain subject, and like in a week's period of time, it will come up in conversation like an inordinate amount of times, like a freakish amount of times. And ambergris, the secretions of a whale that it discharges, and they find it floating in the ocean and is one of the most expensive foods on Earth, has come up so many times. I could do a show on that. I'm this close to doing it. Doc Torn is here. He says, hail Wolf, Rumpled, Terry Nee, and our wonderful host, Tom. Thank you so much, Doc Torn. Thank you for being here. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, even if they don't give him his own movie, Dick Bong's story should be told as part of a larger war movie. It really should. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Like if they remade MacArthur or something, he did fight in the Philippines theater, it would be a good idea. Kim Warfield says Dick Bong's alias was El Kabong. His enemy got hammered. Oh yes, El Kabong and Baba Louie. Rumple Trenchcoat saying hi. People saying hi. Doc says I'm not early. That's okay, Doc. That's okay. It's okay. Nobody's upset. You're doing fine. You're doing just fine. 972-994-6822. Give us a shout. And, we'll put a fork in this thing in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And you all can go back to your regularly scheduled life. See, the problem is, I was so excited about the Dick Bong show that I went through that story, chop, at lightning speed. Some would say at P38 lightning speed, and we got excess time now. But we really always have excess time. There's no real time on this show, I listened to, but let's see, we got the doctor calling in here. Let's just get him on here. Hi, and welcome to the Tom Gully Show. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom.
How's it going, Doc Torn?
Oh man, it's going sweet. So, like what you said about regularly scheduled life, that reminded me about something. I finally bought one, a life. They were having a sale on Amazon.
So you managed to get a life.
I know, right? It's crazy. 50% off. I'm not sure if that was the price or the years.
Did they say people who bought this also bought a clue?
Oh, I tried to, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, sometimes they group the pricing together to get you to buy something else. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
Oh, man, it was great. Baby girl had to fly back to Canada, but, hey, I pretty much spent the weekend with her on the video call, almost 40 hours. If that ain't love, I don't know what is. So
she was with you, and then she flew back to Canada.
Yeah, she lives primarily up there.
Right.
Whereas, I'm here stateside.
No, I understand all that. I'm saying, did she just leave, and was the 40 hours kind of her trip back and after?
Oh no, she flew back. Almost 4. Shoot, what was it?
Take your time. This is for the car and the year's supply of rice-a-roni.
A year's supply? Hot dog!
Yeah, and if you've seen rice-a-roni, a year's supply is like $7 worth of rice-a-roni will last you a year.
Tom, I don't even have enough money to pay attention. It's me we're talking about.
I hear you.
Yeah, she flew back like the 3rd or the 4th. Oh no, I remember now. It was the 5th.
So a week ago she flew back, and so you spent on the weekend here this past weekend. I'm just trying to get to the actual meaning of your story. This past weekend, you spent 40 hours online FaceTiming with her.
Yep. Started. Called her Friday. Didn't hang up with her till midday. About 3-4 o'clock.
Yesterday.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, yesterday. If you're keeping score at home. Well, that is love. When you guys getting married? When's she moving down there? When are you moving up there? What's that schedule again?
So the plan, there's nothing set in stone yet. We're still working on that detail. But the plan is around the fall area, like October, and it's going to be up there.
Okay. It's going to be chilly.
Yeah, but hey, that's what long johns are for.
Okay. All right. Reno Hightower says, let me guess, she lives up by Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, very much so.
Good guess.
Actually, down the road.
Good guess, Reno. That's a great guess. Well, man, that sounds like you had a great weekend. Things are going wonderfully for you. I'm so happy that other people are experiencing career success while I'm doing this. But anyway, yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry to interrupt, but dude, you sitting there with your name and your face in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I have a plague. I put a plague doctor mask on because I'm scared to show that. I mean, Doc. Of course, that's nowhere near my real name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of scared to do so. So hey, you're doing a lot better than me.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but anyway, well, I got to close this thing down. But I do appreciate you calling in, and we always appreciate hearing from you. And hope things continue going famously for you and your gal and everything else.
Well, thank you, Tom. I figured, I had a good joke to share, so why not call in and share it?
Okay, yes, please, by all means, anytime.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. I'm glad you liked it.
Right.
Hopefully everybody else did, too.
All right. Take her easy.
You too, Tom.
All right.
Later.
Bye-bye. That's a great Doc Torn here. The end of the show as we put a button on this thing and wrap it up. I'll take it. But that is the story of Major Richard Dick Bong. Please, do me a favor. The next time people are talking about World War II, bring him up. And you will seem like the most knowledgeable person on earth if you tell them the story of Major Richard Dick Bong. But let's get this guy's name back into the modern lexicon because it is a totally amazing story. Rebel Trenchcoat says, always good to hear Doc Torn on the show. It really is. It's always great to hear from him. So, and I'm just going to go ahead and once again give the point to Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast, for supporting us with those 5 gifted memberships. Man, we really, A, appreciate very warmly this support, and B, we need it. We need some financial support, not to get all NPR about this, but run a show here. So anyway, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. That's going to do it for tonight. I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get on up out of here. You do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. And so, until next time, we'll see you next time.